for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Here we go. It is time for round number 1 of Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous action. The hunt for the PDRA World Championships are about to officially be underway here today.
And Derek, our first two, completing the burnout process. Marcus Butner, left side of the racetrack out of Tobaccoville, North Carolina. The Heartbreaker 1969 Camaro for Butner Construction, Twin City Rebar, J. Cox Racing, and Liberty's Gears. Pat Musey providing the 973 cubic inch mill underneath the hood scoop. And we mentioned J. Cox Racing. That's your crew chief on that machine, as Jay has stepped out from behind the wheel this season, and he'll crew chief that Butner machine. On the right-hand side, Buddy Perkinson out of North Prince George, Virginia, the Perkinson Construction LAT Racing Oil 69 Camaro. Pat Musey, horsepower underneath the hood scoop of this machine. And Buddy, a graduate through the ranks. He's raced many different vehicles, but now finds himself behind the wheel here in Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous competition.
You know, Scott, again, looked over the ladder and the pairings here in the opening round of eliminations of Pro Nitrous, and this was what stuck out to me the most. I really think this is going to be a marquee matchup. Butner, Perkinson, first pair out here in this category. The LAT Racing Oil Camaro is ready to go into battle. Now, Buddy has ran in Pro Nitrous before. You got to think back when he ran Tommy Franklin's car last season. Butner's in. Perkinson set, lights are down. Buddy leaves on Marcus Butner. To the top of the racetrack we go. The win light by 40 thousandths of a second to Marcus Butner. He ran him down. 364.7, 206 miles an hour. Perkinson was right there alongside of him. 372 at 201 the speed, but Butner had the car here in this matchup. Marcus Butner strutting the muscle big time. Look at that. That is a huge lap for your number 8 qualifier out of Tobaccoville, North Carolina.
Our next pair completing their burnouts, Chris Reaney on the left-hand side out of Hickory, North Carolina. The ATI Performance Products 69 Camaro, L&R Auto Sales, Maxima Racing Oils, Charlie Buck providing the horsepower for that machine. 959 cubic inches for the copy and print warehouse.com machine. Here on the right-hand side, Cam Clark out of nearby Reedsville, North Carolina. Cumberland Farm and Auto on board that 69 Camaro owned by Mark Engel. Premier Concrete Solutions, D&T Motorsports, a Pat Musey mill underneath the hood scoop for Cam Clark.
And we see how the opening pair started out. A great side-by-side drag race. And now we lead into our second matchup. Chris Reaney and Cam Clark. They are ready. Clark made a last-ditch effort in Q3 to go 370 last night at 202 miles an hour. Reaney laid down a stellar 366 elapsed time. There is zero room for error here, especially if you're the Cumberland Farm and Auto team. You got to take down a big-time player over there on the far side of the racetrack. Advantage goes to Clark, but he goes to the tire shake. Chris Reaney to the top end at 371.6, making it look easy. 203 the speed, and the ATI Chevrolet will be victorious here in the opening round of eliminations. Watch back on the FloRacing instant replay, and Cam's car gets right out there and shook the tires immediately, and that is something that they struggled and we've seen in qualifying as well. So they're going to go back to the drawing board. I'm sure do a little testing before Virginia in 2 short weeks away for stop number 2 of the Red Line Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series.
Our next pair, Fire to Life, Billy Albert and Andrew Hondras. Hondras on the left-hand side of the racetrack, the New York-based Triple Trouble 69 Camaro, MTK Racecraft, Schweitzer Dynamics tie drive, and a Scotty's Racing Engine 959 cubic inch monster underneath the hood scoop. Billy Albert, the engine builder by trade, here on the right-hand side, the El Chapo 1969 Camaro for structural mechanical. Aschenbach Chevrolet. Stan and Gail Nance own that machine here on the right-hand side. 974 cubic inches for Billy Albert. He comes in your number 5 qualifier. He won a 366.3.
So we've seen some good laps very early on into the category here on round 1 of Pro Nitrous. Billy Albert knows he can't take Andrew Hondras and that team on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of New York lightly. Billy has been impressive throughout qualifying. He set out in one session, but he's been in the 60s, 369, 366. So on paper, Billy Albert looks very strong. You're talking about consistency as well. You know, he hasn't been as fast. Andrew Hondras has laid down good laps to be right there with him if potentially Billy Albert slips up in any way. The first-gen Camaros roll into the stage beams. Hold on, here we go. Advantage goes to Hondras. A great side-by-side drag race, and look at this. Billy Albert, 370, 203 the speed, and 373, 200 miles an hour for Andrew Hondras. A 12,000 of a second advantage at the starting line went to Hondras, and he gave Billy Albert a run for his money. I can assure you of that. Man, what a fantastic drag race right there out of your number. Your third pair out, I should say, is
Derek Ford next out on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Sykesville, Maryland, the Europros Collision Center 68 Camaro. Fulton Competition engines, 906 cubic inches underneath the hood scoop. Late model performance, competitive wiring, and Mincer Motorsport. Brian Schrader here on the right-hand side. The Chevrolet Corvette out of the Robert Hayes Motorsports camp. Pat Musey horsepower underneath the hood scoop for him, 976 cubic inches of nitrous-fed power.
And remember last time when Brian Schrader came out and kind of jaw dropped everybody?
Yeah, he kind of had a mic drop moment, didn't he?
Absolutely, he did. So the winner of this will take on Billy Albert in round number 2. Just waiting to find out. It's going to be a Camaro out of Maryland. Where's that? Schrader camp. Brian Schrader out of Puerto Rico. 976. The hood scoop. You're on the right side. red light for Derek Ford. He's done, and he threw away a good race. 371.202 for Derek. And Brian Schrader, look at that, a near perfect reaction time. He's 004, 369.202 the speed. And the Robert Hayes Corvette will take on Billy Albert to the next round.
Dale Brinsfield here on the right-hand side of the racetrack. The Oak Ridge, North Carolina-based Sometime Racing 2016 Camaro. Jack Gaddy, an Oak Ridge transfer. On board this machine, backing up here on the right-hand side, and Freddie Scriba, the Sorcerer, out of Millersville, Maryland. For Scriba Welding, the 69 Camaro. Freddie does all his tuning. Has a Musi 974-inch mill underneath the hood scoop, and this is a brand new Robert Hayes built Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, the car, you talk about new car blues, and I have not seen that on a Freddie Scriba. I'm sure they did a little preseason testing, but this car has looked very strong throughout the weekend here, and they have qualified up to the number 3 spot, which is a testament in itself. Look at Mark Minster over there, he's giving me a good look. And, but that 365 number is really sound when you're looking at Jim Halsey and Tommy Franklin's numbers. And we're going to see if that good luck continues for Freddie today throughout eliminations. Brinsfield comes to the starting line, that orange Camaro. Oh, look at Freddie Scriba. What a beautiful run. 368.7, 204 miles an hour. Making it look easy out there. Brinsfield at 393, 191. He went A to B, but it was not nearly enough to overcome Freddie Scriba. Is on just a fantastic weekend here every time they come to the starting line. Look at the slow-mo instant replay. That car hiked the front end up, stayed right in the center of their groove, and they are moving on in eliminations.
So that's going to bring up your number 2 qualifier. Tommy Franklin on the left-hand side of the racetrack, the 69 Camaro they call the Jungle Rat out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Redline Oil, Franklin Electric, SmartCom Home Technologies, Hoosier Tires. Jeff Pierce tuning that machine on the left side. Dane Wood, right side of the racetrack out of Chesapeake, Virginia, the Purvis Ford 2012 Mustang. Affordable transmissions, Free Guns Custom, BHM Drag Racing, Julie and Donnie Wilson, and he's powered by Billy Albert. 974 cubic inches of Billy Albert horsepower underneath that hood scoop.
The consistency that we seen last year in Tommy Franklin, we are already seeing it here this weekend. The car has been nothing less than stellar. 361.5, 206 miles an hour last night with that side-by-side performance with Jim Halsey. And then you got Dane Wood over there. Dane, that car has the potential to lay down very decent numbers. They've been struggling, it looks like, with the chassis combination. I could be wrong on that, but the car has just not seemed as happy as it normally is. He's been fighting it from the driver's seat to try and get the car to go straight. Had to abort some runs. So everyone back at Purvis Ford, their machine will come to the beams right side. And the electrician, Tommy Franklin, all the family watching on behind that 69 Camaro. Can an upset happen here in the opening round of eliminations? Well, we're about to find out. Woods out of the gate first. He's going to give Tommy Franklin a bit of a run for his money. To the finish line stripe we go, and Franklin, your defending world champ, 365.6 at 205 miles an hour. And the win light shines in the first federal lane to get Tommy Franklin a bye. That was a 2-for-1 right there. So Franklin will have a bye run into the second round. He's in the bottom half of the ladder, so that was big for him.
So your number one qualifier here this weekend, Jim Halsey, pulls up on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Havre de Grace, Maryland, the owner of Cecil County Dragway, behind the wheel of his 68 Camaro. New car for Halsey. 2024 Bickle-built Camaro, Fulton power plant underneath the hood scoop, 959 cubic inches. Mincer Motorsports Pro Street, presented by AFCO Racing. Mincer Motorsports Pro Street, presented by AFCO Racing. We need you. Halsey, a 4-time PDRA champ and the first nitrous car ever to run 5s in the quarter mile at over 240 miles per hour.
Back set a new record last night.
Not set. He has to back it up.
Back it up. But then he was the guy that previously had the world record in the category too. So just.
Yeah, that side-by-side pass between him and Franklin last night, both of them were world record-setting runs.
You know, Jim is obviously going to be on the heels of Tommy Franklin all year long. He's chasing that championship again. Car is looking really stellar early on in the run. How about a 366 elapsed time, 208 miles an hour for your number one qualifier?
And that run does not back up the record.
The new potential national record was there.
Right.
So it will still stand at 361.3.
Once again, looking for the Mincer Motorsports Pro Street cars. Pro Street, we need you. Now we're going to switch over to WS Construction Pro Boost, presented by Ty Drive and P2 Contracting. And man, what a matchup we have right here first out the gate. Randy Weatherford left side out of Danville, Virginia, the WS Construction 2020 Camaro for Pro Line, Pro Charger, Fuel Tech, and M&M. And Steve King here on the right-hand side, the Savage 2022 Corvette out of Strasburg, Virginia, the Gene Pilot-owned machine for Jeff Miller Performance, Resolution Racing Services, G-Force Race Cars, MSR Performance, and Pilot Electric.
Yeah, and this was my pick looking at the ladder for opening round eliminations. I feel like this is the pair that we need to watch. Could be the closest racing we're going to see as you look at the cars in qualifying, and they are nearly identical. Their worst runs were within 100th of each other. The fastest runs were within 0.005 of a second. So Randy Weatherford, Steve King, first pair out here at WS Construction Pro Boost, presented by P2 Contracting and Ty Drive. Corvette and Camaro, Weatherford and King set to go. Red light for Randy Weatherford. Oh my gosh, he did not need to do that. 360, 209 miles an hour. Steve King showed up to give him a drag race. That was for sure if Weatherford would have turned it green. 362, 208 the speed for Randy there. But Steve King, your number 9 qualifier, is going to round 2 here today.
And Steve King has committed to the full PDRA tour here this season. So big moves already from that team. Great to see. Man, I think we're going to have marquee matchups throughout this whole first round.
These are two absolutely fast cars that are matched up here.
Yeah, Scott Lang on the right-hand side out of Charlotte, North Carolina, the Equalizer 2018 Camaro for KA13. Keenan Allen, NFL star. Scott's his uncle, so Keenan helps out with his racing program. AML Motorsports, Pro Line, Pro Charger, Fuel Tech, Carmack, and M&M transmissions on board. Melanie Salemi left side. Purple Rain side piece, 2023 Camaro out of the G-Force camp. Alley Installation, Liberty's Gears, Quick Drive Ross, and Resolution Racing Services on board our world record holder left side.
So real quick, obviously we have seen it throughout qualifying. Drivers were having issues with the cars pushing over towards the wall or the center line due to the fact that, half track, their wheels are still in the air. So I ran into Preston Tanner at the hotel this morning, and I'm like, man, what can be done to get the front ends down? And he said the tuners actually want the front end up in the air. That's how they like to tune. If the car is reacting and doing that, they are happy. and they make certain adjustments with shocks and so forth to try and keep the car straight. There's a lot that goes into this. So Melody Salemi, Scott Lang. It'll be a very good matchup here. Is Melanie, the record holder was the former record holder in the category until last night when Derek Ward set a new national record. Perfect reaction time for Scott Lang. Who's it going to be at the other end? And look at Melanie Salemi. The young lady out of New York at 3:59.9, 210. The speed takes down Scott Lang. He had 27 thou to play with here at the starting line, but it was not enough. He slows 378 at only 196, and Melanie will get the win here in round number 1. Let's go back, watch the instant replay. Look at Melanie's car. Right up there on the wheelie bars again, hiked the front end up and moves towards the center line. When it came back down, she was trying to just get the car to push back in the center of the racetrack ever so gently.
You got to feel like Scott Lang had some sort of issue. He was down almost 20 miles an hour
absolutely.
at the finish line. So
something happened to that race car.
Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock presented by AED Competition. We need you for your first round of eliminations, please. Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock presented by AED Competition. We need you. Well, here comes Kenny Lang on the right-hand side at a Grand Point. Get that out. The Albright Racing 69 Camaro, NGK Spark Plugs, VP Race Fuels, and Miller Welders. And you talked about Preston Tanner. Here he is on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Rensselaer, Indiana. The Talbot Manufacturing, Strange Engineering, G-Force machine.
Now Kenny Lang, twice this weekend, we've seen him pop the burst panel on the supercharger. Once last night in qualifying, once in testing on Thursday. You see Chad Crawford out in front of Preston's car. Andy brings up the RPMs once, cleans it out a bit. It's just a little bit of heat in the motor. His dad will walk away. Of course, a true legend in pro modified racing, Al Billis, Kenny Lang together. Lang set. Red light for Kenny Lang and tire shake. They're pedaling it all over the racetrack, and Preston Tanner at 362 with a 9. The young kid at 208 miles an hour takes the Sweetheart Chevrolet into round number 2 as your number 6 qualifier there. So good job to Preston. They went A to B. Kenny 412, 147, but by 8 thousandths of a second, he turned the red light on. Preston's car's out of the gate, gets the front end hiked in the air as it should, and just kind of pulls on through there. And we will find out if Preston will have lane choice later in the session.
William Brown III out of Chesapeake, Virginia, the Blue Magic 2.0 69 Camaro here on the right-hand side. Proline, M&M Trans, LAT Racing, Oil Hoosier Tires, YO Motorsports, and that Jamie Miller tuned hot rod. Jason Harris, left side, your defending world champion in the category. Out of Pittsburgh, North Carolina, the Party Time Machine. Southern Diamond Company, SP Tools, Hoosier, Pro Charger, and Proline on board his hot rod. He only comes in as your number 5 qualifier, win a 3:58.7 only.
Yeah, I know, only. And that gets you number 5, you know.
Right.
You want to do a shout out, SP Tools, they're on site here this weekend, the manufacturer's Midway, marketing partner with Redline Oil, PDRA Drag Racing Series, and of course a new sponsor there for Jason Harris. And William Brown III. Over here on the right side. He knows he's taking on the reigning world champ. Cannot leave anything on the table here. We've seen a lot of cars make good runs. This could be an upset. Red light again. Seventh foul too soon for Brown. Jason Harris at 12 green and 359, 209 the speed. And I mentioned this earlier on in the weekend. The best lever, if you do average of reaction times in the category of Pro Boost, hands down is Jason Harris. He has some of the most stellar reaction times. And there's a testament to that right here in round number 1. 12 thousandths were perfect.
Kurt Steing and Travis Harvey. Kurt Steing, left side of the racetrack out of Carnegie, Pennsylvania. The P2 Contracting, P2 Racing, 69 Camaro for YO Motorsports, Time Drive, and NGK. And Travis Harvey here on the right-hand side, the Carolina kid behind the wheel, the 2017 Camaro. Miles Truck Service, Holland Enterprises, Proline, LAT Racing Oil, Miller Time Racing, B&D Automotive, and Barry Allen Racing helping out the hot rod here on the right-hand side of the racetrack.
I'm excited for this matchup with Travis Harvey and Kurt Steing. The way I look at it is we gotta almost not look where they qualified. You gotta look at the potential about both of these race cars. Travis Harvey is a very good driver and tuner. He's very involved with these machines, and if he can get it figured out.
A wheelman. Yeah. He can leave you on the starting line.
He's not going to leave Kurt Steing any room here on reaction time. I can assure you of that. And Kurt has to be on his game. Travis Harvey knows he's down on the horsepower a little bit, so he's going to try to make it up in reaction time. Kurt's new car is running well. Find out who goes in first. The pre-stage bulbs are lit. No one's really moving. Harvey sitting there. Steing doing the same. Kurt starts to make the move first. Oh man, Kurt Steing just nailed the tree, and Travis Harvey was dead late. That is very uncharacteristic of the Carolina kid. He was 122. Kurt's 023 and 360 at 209. And for P2 Contracting, they are moving in to round number 2. No issues there.
Camaro Joe Albright here on the right-hand side in a Fletcher Cox-owned 69 Camaro for Shady Trail Ranch, Cox Racing, LAT Racing Oil, DeSoma Racing Engines, Showfield Performance, and PTP Racing. Fletcher calls the car, can't get right. Bickle built that machine. DeSoma has the power plant in between the frame rails. And Spencer Hyde, left side of the racetrack, out of Stratford, Ontario, Canada, the Jack of the Green stock machine. 69 Camaro for Redline Oil, NGK Spark Plugs, Hyde Construction, and Noonan Race Engineering. He's the 2023 World Series of Pro Mod champion with multiple Canadian Pro Mod wins, and here he is with us in the PDRA.
I'm telling you, Spencer is looking really solid this year. Think back to testing, to qualified, a little match race last night alongside Derek Ward. Spencer has been laying down some very impressive laps. Fletcher Cox out in front of that Camaro, bringing his driver Joe Albright into the beams.
And of course, Fletcher recently announcing his retirement from the Philadelphia Eagles, and now he's going to be able to spend more time with his racing teams.
Just a very, very good and humble guy. Cox, if you ever have the time to talk to him and meet him in person there, loves being out here, pro modified drag racing. So Albright turns on the top bulb. Spencer Hyde follows suit. He's in. This pair is set to go. The advantage of the starting line to Spencer Hyde. Hold on, Joe Albright. He makes a hard move to the center of the racetrack, and Spencer Hyde is going to be victorious at 361.2. 211 the speed for Jack of the Greenstock Chevy. The Stratford, Ontario, Canada team will go back and ready that machine for round number 2 later today when they take on Preston Tanner's Corvette. But look at Joe. Car gets out of the gate and just keeps pushing over there and nearly takes the 330-foot cone out when he sawed the wheel back, and watch Spencer drive on by for the win.
Bubba Green here on the right-hand side out of Greer, South Carolina, the 2019 Corvette. Scotty Cannon, the tuner on this machine. Yes, that's Scotty Cannon from older Flying Tomato days. The legend Scotty Cannon. And he's going to be up against the legend on the left side of the racetrack. Todd Tutto out of Yadkinville, North Carolina. King Tut behind the wheel of the Justin Smith-owned 69 Camaro. Quick Fuel, Tie Drive, YO Motorsports, Extreme Oil, and NGK Spark Plugs.
Yeah, you're talking about Todd Tutto and the success he has seen this weekend. That car has been very good. 358, 362. 383, they've just been going faster each time they've came to the starting line. Bubba Green here on the right side, that wild-looking Corvette. Out of the shades of Scotty Cannon. We have seen couple red lights earlier on in the session. Find out what happens here. Tuttero's in. Bubba Green set. Advantage goes to Bubba. Half track, here comes Tutto, and Todd Tutto is your winner. 362 of the 4 by 2 thousandths of a second. 365 there for Bubba Green. That was almost a big upset at 207 miles an hour. It was extremely close to the finish line stripe. Hats off to the Green camp. They gave Todd Tutto a great side-by-side drag race in round number 1.
So Derek Ward and Chuck Alsh up next. Chuck Alsh here on the right-hand side out of Mount Airy, Maryland. The Roche Racing Engine, 68 Camaro for HFR Fabrication, Churchview Farms, Redline Oil, and NGK Spark Plugs. If you were watching last night or if you were here, you saw the door fly off Alsh's machine, but he knew that was his last chance to get into this field, and he made it work.
Yeah, got a little Band-Aid there on the passenger side door as he comes back to the starting line.
And Derek Ward on the left-hand side out of Friendship, Maryland. The G-Force built 68 Firebird for Resolution Racing Services, G-Force Race Cars, and MSR Performance. Derek set the national record last night here at Galot Motorsports Park. I know I talked about Melanie had it, but hey, it's out of the same camp with G-Force.
Yeah, Derek Ward, this could be, if he keeps the momentum up that he's had the beginning of the season and now rolling into the first PDRA race, he could be contending for a world championship.
Oh, absolutely. Picked up the win at the World Series of Pro Mod earlier this season, and now he's your new world record holder in the PDRA.
So Chuck Alsh knows the task that he has to try to take care of here. Your number 1 qualifier, your new world record holder in Pro Boost. And he would love nothing more to make a ginormous upset happen here in race number 1 of the 2024 season. The Pontiac Firebird Award into the beams left side. The Camaro of Alsh into the beams right side. Final pair here in Pro Boost of round number 1. Both are out of the gate. Tire shake for Alsh, and it's going to be all Derek Ward. 363, 209 miles an hour. A little white out of the right side of Derek Ward's car as he goes through the top of the racetrack, so it might be hurt.
Drag 965 Pro Extreme Motorcycles. Drag 965 Pro Extreme Motorcycles. We need you to staging, please. Watching that replay. Little puff of smoke. Derek Ward might have hurt the bullet in that thing.
Just real quick in Pro Boost, Derek Ward, Steve King will go head-to-head. Kurt Steing and Jason Harris is going to battle it out. Todd Tutto will line up alongside of Melanie Salemi. And Spencer Hyde takes on Preston Tanner in Pro Boost.
So now we're going to make the jump over to Venture Motorsports Pro Street, presented by AFCO Racing. Nick Agostino first out on the right-hand side, the Cannoli Express small block twin turbo 69 Camaro. Nash competition engines, Maxima Racing oils, precision turbo M&M transmissions, and Venture Motorsports on board this machine. And Ethan Steing making his Pro Street debut here this weekend for the P2 team. Ty Drive, YO Motorsports on board his hot rod. These cars very close in qualifying. Ethan Steing went from junior dragsters to Pro Street, and he has looked phenomenal behind the wheel. Nick Agostino here on the right-hand side, a tough customer to have sitting next to you first round of eliminations, though.
Young kid, Ethan Steing, taking on Nick Agostino here. There's nobody hungrier than a first national event round win. Then machine and the driver sitting on the left side. Agostino leaves early, but there goes Steing. Look at the P2 contracted Camaro. 397, 196. Career best numbers again for the 16-year-old out of Carnegie, Pennsylvania. Ethan Steing will take down Agostino's Camaro, who could only muster a 514 at 126. That's a story to talk about.
Look how smooth that is on the flow replay right there, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ethan has been so good behind the wheel. He's
16 years old. I can assure you that you or I weren't doing that at 16.
I like this one.
Yeah, Scott Kincade and Richard Reagan. Richard Reagan here on the right-hand side out of Rutledge, Tennessee. The 1990 Mustang is your number 6 qualifier in a 398.0. And Scott Kincade out of Thornhill, Tennessee. Clinch Mountain Transport 69 Camaro, trying to keep his streak alive.
And remember last night, Reagan laid down, I believe it was Q3. That's the big run to out-qualify Scott Kincade. And even though Scott has had a consistent race car, it hasn't been as fast as it normally is. And that has kind of been surprising to me, especially when you think back to last year, how strong he was at every race.
Yeah, never lost a round of PDRA competition last season in that silver Camaro.
He's trying to keep
trying to keep the streak alive.
But Richard Reagan's like, we're going to change that record if I have anything to do with it. Two drivers out of the state of Tennessee going to meet here in the opening round of eliminations in Venture Motorsports Pro Street. Chevy fans, you're on the left-hand side. Ford fans, you're on the right side. Maryland Mustang matchup. Reagan side by side with Kincade, watching all the way down to the finish line, and it's going to be Scott Kincade. 398, 195. He was 033 going by the tree, and Richard Reagan gave him no room for error. 4.023, 193 the speed, and by 52 thousandths of a second, Scott Kincade continues to be undefeated in PDRA competition here in Pro Street.
Final call for Drag 965 Pro Extreme Motorcycle. Final call for motorcycles. PDRA Pro 632 will take you. PDRA Pro 632 will take you to the staging lanes for your opening round. Joel Winsley Jr. next up, left side of the racetrack out of Dearborn, Michigan. The 2014 Camaro for Pro Charger and Liberty's Gears. And Jerry Morgano out of Apollo Beach, Florida, right-hand side. The Copperhead 02 Mustang for DeSoma Race Engines and Bullseye Turbo. Venture Motorsports on board that machine. Fuel Tech Visner Engine Development. Winsley was your number 5 qualifier coming in. 397.4. Jerry Morgano, his best effort, put him in the number 10 qualifying position out of 4.010.
So third pair out in the category. We have seen some really good side-by-side races. That's what it's all about. Drivers have obviously been pushing the starting line. We've seen that. A few red lights. Winsley, Jared Morgano squaring off right now. Already seen a machine go into the threes, so it's there. Racetrack's very good. Still got a tailwind a bit. Joel Winsley's staged and ready. Morgano set, lights are down. Oh, Morgano spins the tire out. 330 feet in the middle of the race course. Joel Winsley's going to go 401. 191 the speeds of the mechanical heating and cooling Camaro out of Dearborn, Michigan. Will take down your number 10 qualifier, Jerry Morgano, with 488 at 113.
Morgano left on him, 58 to the 84. But
stayed right alongside of him until, like I said, about half track, you could see the haze off the tire of the Copperhead Mustang, and Joel Winsley just trucked on by.
Good matchup right here, Derek, as Tim Essig in the brown sugar Mustang will take on Ty Casper in the Sinatra Mustang. Casper here on the right-hand side out of Westfield, New Jersey. Victus baseball bats, vibrant, precision turbo, M&M transmission. Casper Performance Hot Rod is your number 11 qualifier, won a 418 with a 5, and Tim Essig, past world champion in the category left side, the Brown Sugar 2018 Mustang for Pro Charger and Essig Motorsports.
You know, Ty Casper, one of the younger drivers here in the category of Pro Street, been after it for the past couple years, but the amount of effort and time that Ty Casper puts into his racing program is second to none. The kid wants it. You could tell just how badly. And Tim Essig over there built the cars we talked about so many times in his own garage. It's just a good story that he has had behind the Brown Sugar. So two very deserving drivers are going to pull to the starting line and match up here in round number 1. Two guys from the East Coast made the trip down here this weekend. Race number 1, the Pro Street season here at the Red Lion Oil PDRA Drag Racing Series. Sponsors supporting this class, Butner Motorsports and AFCO Racing. It's a category that you see continue to grow every season, some new faces, better and better competition. So which Ford Mustang going to cross the finish line first? We're going to find out in just a few moments. Off the starting line first is Ty Casper, but he goes out and knocks the tire off of the Victus baseball bat machine, and it's going to be Tim Essig. 4.017, the winning laps time, 187 miles an hour. The Pro-Charged powered Ford is on to the next round.
Battle of the Bills up next. Bill Riddle and Bill Devine. Devine here on the right-hand side out of Muskegon, Michigan. The Bullseye Power 01 Mustang for Fuel Tech, Mickey Thompson, Fire Corps, and Liberty's Gears. And your reigning world champion left side of the racetrack out of Howell, Michigan. The Corrigan Race Fuels 89 Camaro, B&L Services, Motorsports Unlimited, SSI Superchargers, and Redline Oil on board that machine. So two Bills, both from Michigan. One a reigning world champion. Turbo versus blower.
Bill Devine's car has been quite a handful this weekend for him. We have seen him lay down some good runs 2023, but the start of this season has not been what Bill Devine was hoping for, I can assure you of that. Upsets could happen. Bill Riddle rolls into the stage beam there on the left side. Here comes Bill Devine trying to get in. Oh, and the upset happened right here. Let's see if Bill Devine can get there, and he does. Your number 12 qualifier goes 4:10, 168, and Bill Riddle struck the tire at the hit. Wow. The Howell, Michigan Chevy Camaro on the trailer in a monstrous upset in round number 1. Bill Devine's car made his best run of the weekend here in round number 1 of competition. And that's what I love about drag racing. We don't race them on paper, we have to race them on the racetrack, and things like that can happen there.
You know, Derek, we talked about it earlier. The sun was going to be out for first round of eliminations, which is definitely going to change things up from where they qualified last night. But, man, how unlucky is this? Both the Pandy's performance machines have to face each other first round. Chris Hardy on the left side, that beautiful 2000 Camaro, will line up alongside
a beautiful Mustang.
Yeah, the equally beautiful Ford Mustang. Pandy's pushing out some fine products here.
You got to go check these cars out in the pit area. And a cool story behind both of them, but Chris Hardy only got one qualifying run.
Yeah.
That car had not been to a racetrack. It is a brand new build, motor, chassis, everything. Brand new, came here to Galat, unloaded it, came to the starting line, and went 5 flat. I mean, that's all they got.
Then on the other side of the spectrum, Dan Norris has had 3 hits at the racetrack in qualifying. He's your number 2 qualifier, won a 393.6. Mincer Motorsports, Noonan, Fuel Tech, and M&M on board this Mustang here on the right-hand side.
And oddly enough, this is such a marquee matchup. It's a 2-for-1. So you win this, and you get a bye run into round number 2, which kind of puts you to the semifinals. Bottom half of the ladder, 2 and 13. We just seen a huge upset happen. We'll see what Chris Hardy can do. Oh, Hardy's car rolls the beam. Dan Norris goes 073 and 396. Making it look easy out there for Pandy's Performance, the Brighton, Michigan Blue Oval at 193 miles an hour. So Dan Norris will get a bye run in round number 2. Final car in the category, and it's your number 1 qualifier.
Yeah, Ron Green came out and flexed hard in the game changer. 2000 Firebird went a 389.4 in qualifying to earn the number 1 spot for Green Brothers Racing. Quick Fuel, DeSoma, Pro Charger, Mincer Motorsports, Noonan Race Engineering, Neil Chance Converters, all on board this machine out of Chesterfield, Virginia.
Just seen Dan Norris go 396. Scott Kincade went 398 earlier on in the round. And now Ron Green. The starting line. He will take on Ethan Stedding in round 2. And now he's going to lose lane choice to Ethan Stedding. 492, 132 miles an hour for your number 1 qualifier.
And I'll tell you what, Derek, that's starting off on the wrong foot because Ethan has been impressive and consistent.
Kid is laser focused, and we've seen it in reaction times, and we've seen what kind of car they are giving him that's going down the racetrack A to B. So our round 2 matchups in Mincer Motorsports Pro Street looks a little like this. Ron Green will face Ethan Stedding. Ethan Stedding will have lane choice there. Tim Essig, Joel Winsley head-to-head. Both drivers went 401. Dan Norris has the bye run into the semifinals. And then Bill Devine will take on Scott Kincade, with Scott Kincade having lane choice over the Bullseye-powered Ford of Bill Devine.
So now it's time to move into Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock presented by AD Competition. And our first pair out, Darrell Stewart and Dave Hughes. Hughes here on the right-hand side of the racetrack out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania. The HRE Manifolds 2018 Camaro. comes in as your number 8 qualifier. An extremely tight field as he went at 4:07.1 at 179. Your number 9 qualifier, left side of the racetrack, went at 4:07.1 at 177. Darrell Stewart behind the wheel, the red machine backing up from the burnout out of Jupiter, Florida. Chassis engineering, Hyperactive Performance Solutions on board his machine. 820 cubic inches of Kazi power left side. 832 cubic inches of Kazi power here on the right-hand side. Dave Hughes with a starting line reaction time advantage to the top end. Win light's going to go to Stewart by 3 thousandths of a second. Darrell Stewart drives around him on the top end of the racetrack with a 4:10 with a 2 at 178 miles an hour. Dave Hughes, 4:13.3 at 177. AFCO Racing Super Street presented by Mincer Motorsports. We need you. Super Street, we need you. 3 thousandths of a second separating those two as they cross the finish line. Wow, what a drag race. Dylan Voss, left side out of West Palm Beach, Florida, the Bad Banana 2005 Cavalier for Liqui Moly. Voss wheelie bars. And Matt Gigrande here on the right-hand side out of Pleasant Garden, North Carolina. The Enoch Love-owned 2019 Camaro for Ram clutches. Kazi Racing engines, AED carburetors. 825 cubic inches for Matt Giagrandi. Dylan Voss with 828. Matt won the World Series of Pro Mod Mountain Motor Edition.
I was going to say it Pro Stock. So Matt G, we're here on the right side. You get a look at the Enoch Love Motorsports Camaro, and behind the wheel there, our Blue Racing live feed. And Dylan Voss laid down a respectable 4:05 run last night under the lights in qualifying. So the big yellow Chevy Cavalier to the starting line. Try his hand. One of the best drivers behind the wheel, Matt Giagrande. Spent some time in Trey Pro Stock and kind of teamed up with Enoch Love. They've had a good combination the past couple seasons. Red light for Dylan. He was too foul too soon, and Matt Giagrande at 4:12, 176 miles an hour. We'll slide on into round number 2 there. Dylan just pushed the tree a little too much. Ended up shoving the clutch pedal one early at 5:37. You could see his car go out and shatter the tires right there. And Giagrande, they didn't have the car really hopped up. They put a tune-up in it. They knew it would go A to B. And that 4:12 numbers right in the middle of the pack where their qualifying efforts.
Chris Powers up next, left side of the racetrack out of Carlisle, Pennsylvania. The Sonny's Racing Engines 2021 Camaro for ATI Performance and CR Powers HVAC. And Jordan Insulin out of Lakeland, Florida. The 08 Mustang here on the right-hand side for Dark Horse Coffee Company, the Golden Gate Hotel and Casino, Circa Las Vegas, AED Competition, and Mincer Motorsports. Jordan was your number 11 qualifier at a 4:09.9. Chris Powers, number 6 at a 4:05 with a 6.
Yeah, Chris Powers, Chuck Samuel, and that team on the left-hand side prepared that hot rod for battle today. And Jordan Insulin, when he came to the starting line last night and got shut off, it was a fuel line that cost him the run. It shook loose, and they shut him off. So he was not able to make that attempt in qualifying. And his own words, everything happens for a reason. So they regrouped, they come into round number one, and they know the task at hand, and they look across the racetrack, and they are taking on a world champion. New marketing partner, Dark Horse Coffee Company, Polk County Pro Stock Team. Jordan Insolin doing the driving. Try to put that Ford Mustang in round number 2 here today at Galat. Starting to bring up the RPMs. Final move to the beams for Jordan Insolin. The advantage, 2,000 going to the left side. Chris Powers, this Chevy Camaro walks away at 4.082. 178 the speed. And ATI Performance Products and Sonny's world-class racing engines will move on here as Jordan Insolin goes 432 at 151. Like that car had a lot of wheel speed off the starting line. You see it make a move down low, and that cost him the entire run, unfortunately.
Doug Contrell here on the right-hand side out of Warsaw, Indiana. The 08 Cobalt, your number 12 qualifier, won a 4:13.9. He's got a tall task, though, because Johnny the Kid Placino lines up on the left-hand side out of Smithtown, New York. The Featherlight Batteries 2013 Mustang. For Kelling Equipment, Maxima Racing Oils and Ram Clutches. Johnny rolls in as your number 5 qualifier at a 4:05.1. Got a John Kazi 825 cubic inch mill underneath the hood scoop. Contrell utilizing Sonny's power, 825 cubic inches.
Johnny and Doug. Teams, they shake their heads at each other. They give them the nod to send their drivers to the starting line. Dad backs away. Three-year-old out of New York. Lets up on the clutch pedal, and he is perfect. A perfect reaction time, Johnny Placino, and it's going to be 4:08.1. 178 miles an hour for the Featherlight Batteries. Kelling Equipment entry, Doug Kittrell at 4:10, 175. And when they left the starting line, it was pretty much over. Doug was quicker to 60 feet, was quicker to half track, but Johnny Placino laid down a stellar run there, and by a whole car length, turned on the win light in the first Federal lane.
So Randy Lynn Butner here on the right-hand side out of Clarksville, Indiana. The Johnson Horsepower Garage, Summit Racing Elite Motorsports Hot Rod was supposed to face off against Dwayne Rice. Rice not making the call.
Unfortunately, the Excalibur Racing Engine's Camaro expired a motor, and it was catastrophic enough that they were not able to fix it and continue through qualifying. So Randy Lynn Butner, first race behind the wheel of the Johnson Horsepower Garage Camaro here. For everyone back at Elite Performance, providing the horsepower and some of the racing equipment. Of course, Jim Butner Auto here in Indiana. Randy Lynn, a competition single here in round number 1. See Bo standing behind the race car. Bo knows. Comes out in front there. Jack line somewhere in the mix between the two cars, following in his dad's footsteps, working on these pro stock machines. Randy's been 4:05.1, 178 to be number 4 in the order. Good clean run, 0:36 up front, and Randy Lynn Butner will clinch the finish line like a champ at 4.030, 178 miles an hour. That is low for the round right there. Good run out of Randy Lynn and her team. They are knocking on the door to that number 1 qualifying effort of teammate J.R. Carr, who went 4:029. Carr had the front end in the air, set it down, and stayed right in the center of the racetrack, the Napa Auto Parts side. And the end result, 4:030.
In a battle of Ford Mustangs, 2 blue ovals complete the burnout process, starting to make their way back to the starting line. Kurt Neighbor, left side of the racetrack, the Venom 2012 Mustang with the 820 John Kazi power plant in between the frame rails. John Montecavo here on the right-hand side, the Montecavo Paving 2021 Mustang. 830 cubic inches of Kazi power. And I'll tell you, Derek, Montecavo has looked good this weekend. Got progressively faster each and every pass. He went a 4:06, 4:05, and qualified in the number 3 spot at a 4:042. So according to Mark Menser, 2 young men about to take to the beams here on the starting line at Galant Motorsports Park. Kurt Neighbor, John Montecavo. Montecavo with the better reaction time, but Neighbor staying right there with him. At the top end, it's going to be John Montecavo, 4:04. Neighbor's almost pulled off the upset. 4:13 at 171 for his machine. Montecavo march into, yeah, I mean, that was a great run, but actually his fastest pass of the weekend. For Kurt Neighbor, just wasn't enough to get around John Montecavo. Stephen Boone, right side of the racetrack out of Weaverville, North Carolina. The Boone Motorsports 07 Cobalt AD competition fuel systems, line-to-line coatings, white safety, Maximal Racing Oil on board his machine with the Allen competition engines, 822 cubic inch monster. Who's your number 2 qualifier to 4:041. Elijah Morton out of Swansboro, North Carolina. The Double Trouble 2019 Mustang for Horizons East. Carolina Utilities, Carolina Marine Works. Another one of those Allen competition engines, 832 cubic inches for his machine. And we've seen Elijah struggle here this weekend. The Cashion Fishing Rods Ford Mustang has not had a good time here at Galat.
Which is uncharacteristic to see Elijah Morton come into the field, the number 15 spot. And then Steve Boone went out last night. And what I love about Steve is they have a car that, man, when the stars align, they lay a rundown. And 4:04.1 is good enough for number 2, which is a stellar performance. And you look at where J.R. Carr was, 4:029. It's a Boone's machine. We're here on the right side.
MagnaFuel Elite Top Sportsman, we need you to the staging lanes. MagnaFuel Elite Top Sportsman, for your first round of eliminations, we need you to the staging lanes at this time, please.
Stage bulbs are lit there for Elijah Morton. Boone's in. The advantage goes to Stephen Boone, and the problems continue for Elijah Morton here at Galat. 4.077, winning a lapse time, 178 miles an hour. The Weaverville team, Stephen Boone, will prepare that ride for round number 2 today.
And you can watch on the replay there on Flows. Stephen Boone did not have an easy time of it. That car was dancing around. A couple little wiggles out there.
Yeah, definitely at half track, Boone had to do some driving. Final pair of the round.
Lester Cooper, left side of the racetrack out of Lawrenceburg, North Carolina, the 09 Mustang for Cooper Trucking. And J.R. Carr out of Pasco, Washington, another one of those Johnson horsepower garage machines. He's your number 1 qualifier, and this car has looked absolutely stellar. 4:02 put him in the number 1 spot. He also went a 4:03. Just watched his teammate go a 4:03. Elite Motorsports, Summit Racing Equipment, and JBA on board this machine, pulling up on the right-hand side of the racetrack.
So the second car out of the Johnson Horsepower Garage Camp will come to the starting line as your number 1 qualifier. JR, Lester Cooper and his team prepares to try and make quite the upset happen here. So J.R. Carr starting to roll them on in. Let's see if they can lay down a run like the teammate, Randy Lynn Butner. Good numbers early on. He's 19 going by the tree and 4.040. 179 the speed in the heat of the day. J.R. Carr will march on into round number 2. Lester Cooper had all kinds of problems with that Lawrenceburg, North Carolina Mustang. 13 at only 54. The first 60 feet of the run, he was in trouble. Car bounced around out there, shoved the clutch pedal in, and JR's run looked a lot like Randy Lynn's. So the Pasco, Washington, former farmer, will be taking on Darrell Stewart in round number 2. We look furthermore into our matchups in the Extreme Pro Stock. Randy Lynn Butner will take on Johnny Placino, with Butner having lane choice over that. Stephen Boone and Matt Giagrande will go head-to-head. John Montecavo and Chris Powers will be your matchups. We'll see you later this afternoon. A little track prep will take place here at Galot Motorsports Park, and we will continue on in professional eliminations.